Today I am reviewing Five Little Indians by Michelle Good. It is the story of five residential school survivors, Maisie, Lucy, Kenny, Clara, and Howie, and how they make their way into adulthood. For the most part, this book is well written, clearly illustrating how and why residential school survivors would struggle so much, even once they've been released or escaped from residential school, as well as how and why they would find themselves in places like downtown Vancouver, where the majority of the book takes place. Perhaps I'll just read a little passage here. Sister stopped at the end of Lucy's cot, the clicking of her rosary beads carrying on an extra beat after the footfall stopped. She placed a small cardboard suitcase on the cot. You're leaving tomorrow. Pack your things. The boatman will be picking you up at the dock at 3. Lucy reached for the suitcase. Where am I going? Lucy almost smiled at how short Sister had become over the years. She remembered Sister looming over her with the razor 10 long years ago, when Lucy stood before her, fresh off the boat, seasick and terrified. She had seemed like a giantess then. We have a ticket for you to Vancouver, but I don't have any family there. What am I to do there? You have no family anywhere as far as we can tell. What you do or where you go once you get there is no longer my concern. We will give you the address for the welfare office. She looked down her nose and sniffed. Bring your suitcase down to lunch. New girls are arriving tomorrow, so strip your bed in the morning. Go to the laundry and make it up again with clean linen. You will leave after the noon meal at some point. Now go to class. Sister turned away from Lucy, the clacking of her regalia fading, the dorm sinking back into silence. Lucy placed the suitcase on the floor at her feet and sat once again on the bed, numb with the notion of freedom. The only aspect that I think negatively impacts the read, unfortunately kind of almost starts off the book. The first few chapters introduces each child, shows them at residential school, the circumstances under which they left, and where they go immediately following that. And the children that do know how to find their parents go to them first and try to reconnect as a family. But possibly because the children are angry at the parents for not being able to keep them, and the parents are still looking for that 6-year-old who was taken away a decade ago. They can't, and so even those kids who have parents end up leaving and end up finding their way to where the other survivors are. In this book's case, downtown Vancouver. And I got the impression that Good wasn't comfortable really taking a stand on kind of that dynamic, and so the narration is almost becomes kind of detached, like almost passive, and like the emotional beats are kind of told to the reader, not shown. Don't judge a book by its cover is the axiom I've always heard. By the way, props to Julie Scalzi, the artist who designed this cover. I think it's very intriguing and creative, so absolutely do judge this book by its cover, but possibly not possibly don't judge this book by its first couple chapters, because Once the kids or young adults are on their own, they become fully more in their characters, and all of the emotional beats of the story become more engaging and relatable and interesting. And the majority of this book is kind of told at the as kind of an emotional struggle. Um, the characters are all trying to make their way in this new world that they have no formative experience at and no inroads with anywhere. When chances or positive things do present for them, they're too at odds with the fear and the self-hatred that was instilled in them at residential school, and they can't really overcome that. Ultimately, though, two of the five do successfully end up standing up and fighting when they're more mature adults, testifying to the court about the abuses at the school and suing the school for the return of the body of one of the children that they personally know to have been murdered by the school operators, so that that child could be buried within their own community. The book does a powerfully effective job of showing the past sources, and that the people that kind of do this work would have to draw from for the emotional fortitude to do this work. And also, I think crucially, the support that they need, because the two that successfully do are drawn in by more centered and strong Indigenous activists and taken to an elder for a healing ceremony, and their families take a stand for them and materially support them. And it is a real component of overcoming. That's to the book's credit that it's included. All of the survivors want to stand up and fight and help and testify, and they try, but those without the support literally can't survive the attempt. Now, this last layer of the writing that I'm going to talk about is kind of the most spoiler, so warning. Okay. So the majority of the book, all the characters' stories and thoughts and feelings, is all told through single point of view narration. Lucy was dumbstruck by the cascading neon signs flashing and blinking, for example. But there are three instances where it is first person. There are three characters for whom first person narration, I, is used. The first begins and ends the most self-destructive, and I would argue the most tragic character. The second begins after a character who up until then has been single point of view, but it switches to first person narration as they're experiencing their death. And the third one introduces a character. It's told through first person narration. That character's first couple chapters are told through first person narration until after that character gets help. Then it switches to single point of view narration for that character, actions and thoughts and feelings. And I wonder if the intention here was to narratively demonstrate that, well, it can be physically possible to survive a wholly inhumane, traumatizing, horrible experience, part of yourself inside can be left unliving from it. If that was the intention, it was a very clever Anishinaabe-Moan way of accomplishing it because of the importance placed on relationality within one's peoples and communities by indigenous culture.